So to everyone, thanks for joining us for the webinar today. And Prakash, it is my very good friend, and we know each other for so many years. And he's the regional head for Bulwark, which is a company focused on security solutioning. So it's a very good opportunity even for me to interact with him and invite him for the webinar today. And in fact, there are a lot of implementations of ISOs and other compliances where I have done it. Whenever there was a requirement to deploy a security product, and he was the person to go to for me. Okay, and everywhere it was like an cakewalk for him to implement that to the customer's delight. So thanks, Prakash. I know you have been extremely busy, and I'm pulling this hour from you for us. Thank you very much for joining us today. Over to you, Prakash. You can just take over the webinar.
Thank you, Mr. Subramaniam. Thank you for that. Good evening to everyone. My name is Prakash. I'm basically working with Bulwark Technologies. I head the operations for India. We are a distributor into cybersecurity solutions. I come with close to about 23 years of experience in IT. From the perspective of Mr. Subramaniam had given me heads up with respect to the solutions that probably we could talk about. For this particular today evening. So to start with, I want to probably start with MFT, which is Managed File Transfer Solution. What I can say about this particular solution is that it's something that has been existing right from the start, from the time probably Hotmail started. But customers, or let us say IT managers or the environment, has never understood this technology or adopted this technology until recently because of compliance related aspects of it. Sending when we started with Hotmail, say 23, 25 years ago, or somewhere in 95, 96, 97, when Hotmail was launched, 98, we started sending mails, we started sending attachments. So something that we still do right now. So we send attachments via mail. We are sending documents via mail. We send documents via applications. We upload application documents, which could be also between users to applications, applications to users, application to application. We interact internally between our own colleagues in the office to be able to send files that could be there, which could be any kind of file, whether it's a code or whether it's a quote or it's invoice file. It could be a document, a data sheet, a presentation, and anything like that. And this could also be at the application level, where banking software CBS is sending thousands of millions of documents to users, end users, or this transaction is happening between applications. So this is something that has actually been there, but there's been no way to regulate it. So in an organization where people are sending, irrespective of the size of the organization, where people are sending details to each other, irrespective of the medium through which they send it, whether it is through a browser-based application or it is through a internal third-party application or a email itself. The visibility to get to know that who sent that particular document or file to whom, for what reason, at what time it was sent, was it secure, was it not secure, did it have content inside it or data inside of it which was sensitive to the organization, has that kind of a document seeped in through documents that have been sent. And this could relate to any organization of any size. It could be a 5 people organization. It could be a 5 million people organization. It could relate to any organization. So that's to just give you like a starter to the MFT part of it. I'll play a very quick video so that whatever I discussed with you told you right now, you can get a little more understanding of from the technology perspective what I'm talking about. It's a very short video, about 2 minutes, and then I'll come back in. I hope I will be able to share the video.
You can, yeah, you're the host now, yeah.
Check. I've just lost a bit touch with Zoom, but
Yeah, so you can share your screen and choose that video, and then you can play so that we can see that. Yeah, we are able to see your screen. Yeah.
okay. Just
Files from server to server, person to person, or anything in between easy.
are you able to
Gain a holistic view of your file transfers, data
Yes.
access, and user activity from a centralized, customized. Centralize, secure, and automate your file transfers with just one software solution. Go Anywhere Managed File Transfer. Go Anywhere is a secure, managed file transfer solution that makes moving files from server to server, person to person, or anything in between easy. Gain a holistic view of your file transfers, data access, and user activity from a centralized, customizable, and interactive dashboard. Find the details you need easily by configuring several dozen Go Anywhere gadgets for an at-a-glance overview of what's running in Go Anywhere, and dive into details on specific tasks, services, and activities. Create and schedule file transfers using drag-and-drop tools rather than legacy scripts, PowerShell, Python programs, or manual processes. The GUI interface makes it possible for anyone, regardless of their coding ability, to create secure file transfers by simply choosing and ordering tasks. With a built-in scheduler, the ability to monitor folders, and triggers that react to server events, you can automate your processes to reduce human error, cut failure rates, and keep things running without human intervention. Not just when you're out of the office, but anytime you want to automate. With Go Anywhere, you can also limit user access with multiple admin user roles and the ability to create additional granular roles for admin. Lock web user permissions to specific folders and actions. Quickly generate reports on file transfer activity, user statistics, and completed jobs with the reporting module. Make auditing your file transfers simpler than ever before. Whether you need to comply with industry-specific security requirements like PCI DSS, HIPAA, ISO, GLBA, SOX, or Data Privacy Acts worldwide, Go Anywhere can help you meet data privacy and security requirements. With Go Anywhere, MFT is just the beginning. Streamline your workflows with dozens of cloud connectors available. Cloud connectors allow Go Anywhere to integrate workflows with web service applications like Box, SharePoint, Salesforce, ShareFile, and others. Other Go Anywhere modules and integrations help you secure your emails, collaborate with coworkers, and secure more than just file transfers. Schedule a customized 15, 30, or 60-minute demo based on your organization's requirements at goanywhere.com/demo. Get an in-depth look at how Go Anywhere MFT can help you improve, secure, and centralize your file transfers today.
okay. Would there be any question at this point in time?
Not from me, Prakash, but just to understand. So this will take care of my data and transit encryption. See, because most of the professionals here are all certified data protection officers. So in case just to understand, if the controller or one company is transferring the data to another company, I can use this project to ensure that the data is encrypted in transit, correct?
That's right. So this would the data in motion as well as data data at rest, both would be encrypted.
Beautiful. Okay.
Okay. So I'm not going into the product presentation today. I'm going more into the architecture of the product. I think that would be of more of interest to you. So architecture wise, the solution can be deployed in three forms. It can be deployed in the on-premise of the customer in their own network. The customer has the option to be able to deploy it in their own private cloud. Or third, the service providers, or let us say the OEM, has also the option of providing it as a PaaS, which is basically platform as a service. So platform in case of Go Anywhere, a product like Go Anywhere. So let me give you also the aspect that competitive products to Go Anywhere would be Axway, GlobalScape, MoveIt. These are the products that are there competing on the top layer with respect to MFT. There is also IBM Sterling, which IBM provides more of as a service in the last at least 3 to 4 from the late 90s. Also, that is what I understand, because organizations like Infosys are still using IBM Sterling, but it's more of a service where people are also involved with respect to this particular technology to be able to do the file transfers. So a customer has the option to do it on-premise, or they could do it in their own private cloud, or they can use the PaaS option from the OEM itself. Now, in case of Go Anywhere, it is hosted out of AWS cloud across 12 nodes in US, Europe, Middle East, Southeast Asia. There's no node in India right now. So they can just opt it as an option where they can log into the cloud, and the dashboard that you saw there in the video, that they can get direct access to that. They can integrate it with their Active Directory, bring in their users from the Active Directory, irrespective of the number of users. They can create the users manually. They can create users who could be external vendors also manually. They could send a request to an external vendor to register themselves before they are able to do the file transfers. So these are the many aspects and methods that Go Anywhere will be able to kind of start functioning. So what you require for this from a platform perspective is that it requires a hardware which can run operating system. Now our solution provides basically is operating system agnostic. So it could run on Windows servers, it could run on Linux, it could run on IBM, AIX, Solaris, Unix, Mac, whichever operating system is suitable to the customer. On top of the operating system, the customer would need to install a database. Again, the standard databases that are normally available or customers opt for, which is SQL, MySQL, DB2, Oracle, Postgres, Sybase, Informix. So the database installed. On top of this, then the Go Anywhere application is installed. The Go Anywhere application, once during the start of the installation of the software, it will ask for the license. So the license. Is there a query? Okay. So during the start of the process, it'll ask for the license. The license is based on the protocols. So as the video was suggesting, all the file transfers are basically going to use one or the other protocol to be able to do the file transfers. So normally for users, they would use SFTPS protocol to be able to send or receive files, whether it's internal users or external users. Application level, they would probably use SFTP. So whether it's SFTP or FTPS or HTTPS, FTP has been the common method of being able to send files from quite long. But the challenge with FTP has been the security part of it, and also the forensics part of it, in the sense that you need to know who has sent the file at what time, to whom it has been sent, those kind of forensics available. And also the challenge that in environments today, enterprise environments where everything needs to be done in an automated form, not necessarily, but the operational activity demands that if a certain file has to move, like for a bank, as per RBI compliance, the files that are there and the branch have to move into the head office at say 5:30 or 5 o'clock in the evening. Now, it is not necessary for somebody, for a human person to intervene or do that task on a daily basis. The application like Go Anywhere will automate in a scheduled manner, in an automated manner, pick up the files that are at that particular location, and to be able to transfer those files in a secure form by using SFTP protocol to the necessary destination, which would be their head office, is one of the use cases. So SFTP, HTTPS, FTP, in IBM environments, it could be AS2. Also, a use case could be that one of my clients who's a logistics customer in the logistics domain, very large enterprise customer globally. They have close to about 17,000 users in the organization, and they do a lot of transactions of files for sending invoices, receiving invoices, being a logistics company, through email. So sometimes these files are batch files, sometimes these are small files. So so what they wanted was that they wanted to give the access to the user to do file transfers or the attachments that were being sent right from the Outlook itself. So within the Outlook, Go Anywhere will sit as a plugin, and to any file which could be of any size. So example that in an organization, there is there's a restriction by either G Suite or by O365 that you cannot send a file which is more than 15 MB or 20 MB or 15 MB or some kind of a policy like that. So with Go Anywhere, what you could do is that if I have to send, let us say, a 1 GB or a 1 TB file to Mr. Subramaniam right now, it would be a task for me to send that through any application. With Go Anywhere, I can go to that 1 TB file and convert it into a link. Very much like what I could probably do, which Android WhatsApp allows to do, or even Go Drive allows to do, that I can create a link for that file and share that file. So when I create the file in Go Anywhere, here the difference is that the link is going to be secure. There is going to be encryption on that. It's going to be in a more secure environment of an enterprise. So I create a link and then embed it into the Outlook client, and I can set security parameters to that particular transaction or that particular file. So I can say that it needs a password mechanism. So when the file, the email goes with that particular link, there will be another mail following that which will have the password. I can restrict. So when I send it to Mr. Subramaniam, I can restrict to Mr. Subramaniam's view to say, let us say, 1 download, or that this particular file ceases to exist after, say, 48 hours. So those are the couple of things that I can put as security measures on that particular file, which is being sent as a link in the SMTP or through the Outlook mail itself. So when Mr. Subramaniam receives it, he will receive in his Outlook that particular link that he sees, which is a 1 TB file. And he will receive the password after that particular mail, and he will be restricted to 2 views if I have put in 2 views there. And if I put a restriction in terms of time, then that particular file will cease to exist after 48 hours. So and if he downloads it, then the file will be there in this particular folder in an encrypted form. Right. So that's the first level of the file transfer that would happen in a very manual form between users, or say between a user and an application. The next aspect would be to be able to automate file transfer. So once this protocols licensing activation is done, the users have come on board, they have integrated with the Active Directory, the users have come on board, and now they've started to transfer files in a secure manner, internally or externally, or to the applications or to the cloud. Beyond that, what an organization would look at to be able to automate these kind of file transfers. So here is where the workflows would come in, the automation piece of it. So the workflow automation can basically do a lot of tasks with respect to automated tasks in the application. So this could be on 2 sides. One is on the admin side, the other is on the file transfer. So automation on the admin side could include creation of users. If new users are created in the Active Directory, there could be an auto sync happening. It could be deletion of users. That dormant users after 30 days should be deleted from the application on the platform. So automatic deletion of users. Notifications with respect to large files or anything like that. So a lot of automation can be done with respect to the administrative task side of MFT tool. On the other side, you could have the file transfers. So there are many use cases in terms of the file transfers. One of our client who's in the retail segment is using about 900 workflows in his environment. So the workflows, very simple examples could be scheduled file transfers from one point to another. Second aspect would be that the file has to go from multi-point to one point in a scheduled time, at a scheduled time, or after a certain scheduled trigger, like a change happens to a file, or it's getting updated or appended, and after a certain, so the workflow will monitor the folder or the file and then move it after when that task is done. It could also be one point to multi-point, multi-point to point. It could be multi-hop. That means the file goes from one branch to another branch, or through hierarchy, it goes from one person to another person, or through one application to another application. And Go Anywhere will be able to do that task using the workflow. It could also have a high approval kind of mechanism. So if I have to send a file to a certain client, it would need to be approved by my boss. So when I send the file, it will go first to the person who has to approve it. He can then look at the file and then say, okay, it can go ahead, or it may not be allowed. So if it's not allowed, it comes back to me with a notification. I may make the changes, or I'm not permitted to send that file. or it could, based on his approval, it can go to another person in the hierarchy, or it could go to the recipient directly. So all these tasks are very basic level of use cases I'm mentioning with the automation. It can be done with this also, with the automation aspect of it. So with this, we can also integrate it with the cloud. So whether you have an organization has something on the cloud, either on AWS, Azure, SAP, or anything like that, there are, So here's the cloud. So if an organization has anything on the cloud with any of these platforms, whether it's AWS or OneDrive or Azure, Dropbox, SharePoint, Jira or Zendesk or Salesforce, and they need to kind of send or receive files from any of these applications on the cloud, then they can do it directly from the Go Anywhere application, and they can, with a connector, they will be able to integrate it to send and receive files. So in AWS, it could be an instance, or it could be just an S3 bucket. And so Go Anywhere can directly interact with the resource like S3 bucket and do the necessary transfer of files to and from it, or pick it up from here and drop it somewhere here and things like that. So that automation can be done. So this is with the cloud. The same thing can be applicable for any third-party applications also. So if a customer has internally applications like core banking services or SAP services, or they have an ERP, HRMS tool, they can integrate with those with scripts or APIs for those applications as well, which the OEM supports. So this is the aspect in terms of manual file transfers between users, or it could be automated file transfers also. So what it basically does is that it works on a multi-platform level where you can have the operating system of your choice. You can have the reporting available with respect to all the file transfers that is happening. So whether it is by a user, by an application, it is being done by the workflow between applications, or by an external vendor, you are getting visibility to all the file transfers that would be happening within the organization based on the protocols which have been opted for, and gives you visibility in terms of whether it's successful, not successful. Like RBI has given a mandate to all banks to adopt MFT. So most of the banks today have MFT in place, and the reason for that also is that they need to do automation with respect to file transfers as well as failed file transfers. So in case a file that file transfer happens to fail, then the automation workflow automation tool module has the capability to be able to reinitiate that particular file transfer if it has failed for whatever reason it could be. So it has the capability to do that multiple times, and send notifications with respect to failed or successful file transfers, or reattempt of file transfers being done, etc. So we get a report of all this that is happening. So this is something that most organizations are looking for in terms of reporting of what is happening with respect to the data in their organization. How are the users securely able to send files or receive files from external vendors, etc. This thing about the MFT application is that it needs to support most of the protocols that is normally used. With this particular solution, yes, it supports almost all protocols. Encryption is there on this. So whether it is the files at rest and in motion with FIPS 142 validation, AS256 encryption, the security is put in place. Key management is available. Admin controls to manage the users, to be able to set policies, to set security policies. All that is available. Also, two-factor authentication is available on this particular tool. May or may not be available from another competitive application tool, but this is one of the USPs that this application has. The two-factor authentication is inbuilt inside the application itself, rather than depend on a third party or an external tool. This customer may use it or may not use it, but some customers have been very happy to have a feature like this in the MFT tool itself. So the solution also has the capability to do fast file acceleration. So instead of doing SFTP, STTPS, or FTPS, specifically in verticals like the publishing or media space, where there are large file transfers to happen and small windows for the file transfers to happen, we also has the capability to be able to transmit the files or transfer files in the on the UDP channel, because it uses lesser headers and footers to be able to do the file transfers. that is there. And also the capability of the product to work in an enterprise environment with whether they're talking about business continuity or DR perspective. So the application of the solution per se has the capability to be put in an HA environment, like a active mode or an active standby mode, active passive mode, whether it is the HA in the primary, in the DC, or in the DR environment. Cloud we just spoke about, and it also can be integrated with existing DLP of a customer, as long as that DLP is ICAP enabled. So, organizations, when they are doing the file transfers, they would probably want to do an integrity check of the file with respect to details. So it can be integrated with an ICAP engine, which will be external to the application. So thereby making it secure, and compliances with respect to GDPR, PCI, and now the DPDP Act coming into India as well. So I think you would be more familiar with those aspects of it. But yes, the product does adhere to those kind of policies that is being set stringently in terms of security, as well as it allows and enables the customer to be able to deploy those or implement those kind of solutioning within their environment that is governed by, say, GDPR or DPDP or PCI DSS. Any questions?
Not question, Prakash, but is a recommendation. What we do with the Go Anywhere, along with Go Anywhere, we propose an ICAP server solution, I would say, OpsWhat for the multi-scanning engine. So in Kuwait, that's what we do. Along with the GMFT, we propose OpsWhat ICAP server. It makes a perfect combination together, and we have, I guess, more than 10 customers for that same.
That's right, sir. That's right. You're absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, the advantage of an application like this, or the tool is built in such a form that it can integrate with much better security tools external to it. So, obviously, the native capability of an application from an OpsWhat would be to be able to give more security from the authentication aspects of it, or a tool which gives you the authentication mechanisms, or a DLP external to it. So it's more of a being able to integrate and make it more secure for the customer environment.
True, and you can integrate with your sandbox solution also if you have any, for the surety, if the solution support the response mode as well. So that's also another use case which you do.
Yes, sir. So that's on the MFT part. I think more or less I've covered what MFT could do in about 30 minutes. If there's any use cases that you would like to discuss, I'm most open to kind of trying to see if I can get some further clarity on the solution, on the MFT kind of solution. I think so. Mr. Devashish, you would agree with me that this particular MFT solution at this point in time is more looking like a solution, but I have been forcing this solution, MFT, as a commodity product in the next couple of years. In the sense that why I differ with that particular thing, because today customers are still wanting to understand what is an MFT, but the compliance and the mandates are becoming so stringent now, and also the visibility in terms of the data, that this would be as important as an basic antivirus or a DLP on any machine. So MFT in any organization would be like a minimum requirement that would be a guideline.
Okay.
So that's my pitch on the MFT part of it. I think the next one is I would need to go to the DLP. I think DLP you'll be much more familiar with. It's not a very foreign technique. Just allow me to go through the enterprise DLP aspects of it in the new age scenario. Is this visible to everyone?
Yeah, we're able to see it. Yeah.
Right. So DLP perspective, I think this is again one of the key things that has been, at least in the enterprise corporations, having a network level DLP or endpoint DLP has been quite a norm. The COVID actually brought in a kind of push towards DLP. Then there are two other solutions which became very, very popular during this time. Three other the solutions. First one was DLP for data loss prevention in the on the endpoint. The second one was user activity monitoring, because they needed to know, you're trying to understand the productivity of people when they were in the remote. That was the second one. The third one was device management. Basically, whether it was mobile devices, whether it was company-owned devices or BYOD, or also in terms of endpoints, where it was either BYOD environment or it could be company-owned devices. The DLP part, the activity monitoring part of it, and the third one was the MDM, the device management. So specifically to do reach out to manage remotely managed devices, updation of password mechanisms, the updates, patches, the asset management of the devices. Also to one of the very rare, not rare, but very interesting use cases that we got was that when people were quitting organizations, their laptops were going getting blacked out. So that means people are not returning their laptops or things like that, and organizations were looking to see how they can manage that by at least protecting the data that is available on that on those devices, which were with the end users. So device management, especially what we call as unified endpoint management, became a big demand in that particular time, along with the VDI for single sign-on and things like that. So with the aspect of DLP that most of the organizations were looking at was that they used to come with mostly the legacy or known products like McAfee, Trend Micro, Symantec, and here in India with Seqrite also. But there is also the other side, the ForcePoint and other vendors who were there. Now, what happened with this thing was that largely in the enterprise and the corporations were quite covered with the solution that they had. But largely what we call as the SME segment, the startup segment, and there was a quite unorganized method of being able to do that because they had not taken those necessary measures. And DLP became a full-fledged kind of a need to be able to handle that, and it is still right now also in the current time that people are looking to see the best way they can do a DLP, get a DLP, and do the implementation of a DLP. And what I've understood in the last few years with DLP is that you can have the best DLP that possibly money can buy, but if the right policies are not set in an organization or on that particular endpoint, then having the costliest DLP also is of no purpose, because the user is always going to be able to find a loophole through which he can, if whoever wants to do it, wants to leak the information out or wants to carry that information out. So what we have been able to understand is that most of the DLP organizations do necessarily do the DLP, because earlier when the DLP started, most of either McAfee, Trend Micro, Symantec, and Seqrite also, they added the DLP as part of the EDR or along with the AV also. But what was not very clearly understood, that when they said DLP, that they were only protecting the USB drive, the Bluetooth drive, and restricting it that and calling it as a DLP. But the user had the option to be able to send the file from any of these applications, any of these mediums, whether it is through instant messaging or through their mail, personal mail. They could have their own personal OneDrive or file sharing media applications that were there, or email or browsers, and they were able to do just leak out information. And also in companies which are preparing were into code and coding and things like that, they wanted to prevent copy paste, drag drop of screen capture of devices, etc. And also many of the organizations were also wanting to see how they can protect their data on the mobile devices that end users were using. So from a basic DLP, which most of the top the vendors or the OEMs were doing, there also came up different DLP solution vendors like SafetyCar, Next DLP, and few more others in this particular space to be able to do the best to be able to create the DLP fact. So in the DLP, there were three aspects of it that was there. One is the data loss prevention part of it. The second aspect was the audit part of it. So the audit basically gave a visibility to the administrator or to the management as to what is the functioning of the user and what is his method of functioning. So that visibility was not there without the UEBA to the IT admins as to what is a method that a user uses to work productively or to kind of leak out information from the organization. And the UEBA coming into the DLP part of it then started giving more visibility to the IT administrators or to the management that, okay, I can see visibility of users are, what is the productivity happening with respect to which applications are they using, which applications are they attempting to send out files. Are those files, productive to the organizations? Is it necessary to be able to send those files, or was it being sent in a malicious manner or anything like that? And based on the audit that was run for almost close to about 45 to 2 months, the audit gave them a lot of revelation in terms of what the user was doing and which methods they were using to be able to then use that intelligence to be able to then set the DLP policy. So somebody was using OneDrive, somebody is trying to use somebody through Zoom and somebody through so that kind of made the DLP a little more fortified to be able to make it a more enterprise ready solution in terms of prevention of data loss. And we've been doing Digital Guardian, we're doing SafetyCar, we are now doing Next DLP as a solution on the DLP front. But for technology per se, it's more of a DLP is more of a policy being made. It's in progress rather than just a product where DLP gets implemented. So over a period of time now, we've had multiple customers where DLP implementation in the initial part takes even close to 3 to 6 months, and then they come to kind of calm down after about 6 months. That okay, the DLP policy is being set in place because they have absolutely no visibility to the different methods that is being used by users to be able to pilferage of data from inside the organization. So initial audit happens, then the policies are set, then the users try to breach the policies or attempt to do the policies, bypass the policies, find loopholes in that, and then do that. And then a reiteration happens with respect to the policies, and then again tests are done, checks are done, audits are done. So it does take at least 4 to 5 months to be able to come to some kind of a calmness with respect to a DLP getting set in an organization. So with respect to DLP, my take would be that it's not only about the product, it's not only about the features that the DLP has. Yes, it is very, very important from that perspective, from what kind of vendor it's coming, what is the roadmap for them on the DLP front, what is the cost attached to it. But largely, it also depends in terms of what policy that an organization is looking to set. Probably in a large organization, it's as good as a DLP product is as good as having a Windows administrator dedicated or a database administrator dedicated for a solution. Until unless you really have groups, because one document may be sensitive to one department in the organization, may not be the same to another department, and so it does take time. So. Yes, as a solution in terms of platform, it was available as on-premise. Then organizations started to give the SaaS-based option also. So now we do have cloud-based DLPs available. The endpoint is still necessary factor, which is there. The client that has to be there on the endpoint, but also organizations or vendors are coming in with clientless kind of solutions also for DLP. So that's my take on the DLP part of it. If there's any, and the third part is also the classification, because almost many of the organizations look at classification part of it. So classification within DLP is something that is subjective. There are products like Bolden James probably which are more standalone products doing classification, which does a fabulous job of doing classification. Some of the DLP products definitely do some classification, but would not be at par at what a standalone classification product would do. At the cost and things which the customers in this particular segment would be looking at. Classification is something that is there, but may not be on top of things. But because the product is supposed to be doing DLP more than classification, so yes, that is a subject to be debated about, or when you actually use the product, you can actually see how well the feature of the classification the product is able to do. But it's definitely not the cherry on top of the cake, the classification inside DLP. So the DLP, the data leak prevention part, the UEBA, which is the monitoring part and the audit part, and the classification part. So this kind of comprises the DLP, audit, UEBA classification aspect in the DLP environment. Yeah, that's my submission on the DLP, Mr. Subramanian.
Well, thank you, Mr. Prakash. Thank you very much. So, in fact, the team had a few